Hey, Doug.
Hey, Larry.
Good to see you.
Good to see you too, man.
Everybody else is being silent.
Long time no see, Doug.
Got to stop meeting like this, Lyle.
Oh, I like it.
I do too. It may be the rest of my life, maybe this way. I don't know.
Hey, Kathy.
Hey,
How
Kathy.
are you?
We had a meeting last night in Franklin. I had to attend a meeting last night in Franklin because I was settling a lawsuit I'm handling for them, and there were 50. Before we went into executive session, there were like 56 participants. Wow. Hey, Kathy.
Hi.
A lot of people on Zoom.
Yeah.
Hello, guys.
Hi, Rusty.
Or how are you, sir?
Hello, sir. Hello, Kathy.
Hi. Put it on there. See if I can get my earbuds to work.
I had my first Zoom court hearing last Monday. That was quite an interesting experience.
I bet it was.
It took a long time. That was the only thing.
We've been doing a fair amount of closing on Zoom, and it goes okay, but it's just me and one or two other people.
Yeah.
So it goes okay, but it does take longer.
Mm-hmm.
I'm paying for a service on my own computer where I can conduct mediations, where I can do caucus people, exclude people, keep people apart, and all that stuff. It's pretty interesting. I haven't done it. I haven't run one yet. The meeting we had last night had that capability. In other words, they moved certain people into executive session, and then they moved others that had to stay out. It was interesting. I'm fixing to mute myself.
Lyle looks like a cowboy.
That's a very apt description, Kathy. That's exactly right.
Hi, Louise.
Hello, everybody.
Hey, Louise.
Kind of hot outside.
It is
It
hot.
is a little bit, but I've been inside all day.
I'm hot. Your beard.
Well, Louise, I don't know where you are, but I'd like to come join you. That looks nice out there.
It's her yard.
It's my backyard right now.
That's great.
You're welcome. Come anytime.
Right.
We should have an outdoor meeting.
Well, what time do you serve wine?
That'd be right after this meeting ends.
Summer, with people jostling you and running strollers into the back of your heels. It's the complete opposite of that. Wide, empty streets, being able to walk onto Space Mountain or any of the other top rides without hardly a soul in front of you. That.
What's happening?
Who's on right now?
Yeah, who is that?
Disney World. Might have been Steve.
No, it wasn't his voice. That's
I
weird.
don't know. Somebody talking about Disney World.
I know it. Space Mountain.
Everybody got their microphones on? I can't hear anybody.
I'm here, but you can't see me.
For some reason.
I can hear you, Jim.
I can hear you.
I'm on.
Let me see if I got my speakers on here.
Sounds like it.
I got you, Jim.
Sorry. Settings. Somebody on there? Can you hear me?
Yeah.
I can hear
Yes.
you.
Hear me? I guess my microphone's on. Let's see, my speakers are on.
That's why I wanted you to
Please,
come
somebody say something.
We're here, Jim.
I'm here.
Wednesday, 4 o'clock.
Mm-hmm. 401.
There, B square.
Lyle, can you do anything to turn the speakers on here?
I cannot. That's totally when you're in. And what I'm showing is your microphone is on.
Is that your dog?
Is that Bear?
Oh, there's the air conditioning guy here. Well, I'll tell you what I got to do. I'll have to go get my Bluetooth. Sorry about it.
Can anybody hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, Bob.
Yes.
Dog Bob.
Hello?
I guess you can hear my dog.
Yeah.
Yes, loud and
We
clear.
can.
Now my dogs are about to come in here to see who's here.
Settings.
Come here. Get up here.
Oh, Steve Casey's on here.
Hey, Jim.
Damn it.
Can you hear us, Mayor? Can you hear us, Mayor? We can hear you.
I kind of want to hum the Jeopardy theme song. Just saying.
Dun, 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 dun.
Struggling. Let's see if I can intercept this. Y'all can hear me okay? Nod your head. You can hear me.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, everybody can hear me.
Yes, yes.
I can see. Maybe I ought to sort of log on my phone and then.
I was gonna say, can you do your phone and the computer at the same time?
I'm really sorry, guys.
Actually, if you do your phone and your computer at the same time, the hearing is better. The audio visual in your PC is not as good as on your phone with Zoom. So if you're having a hard time hearing, it's better to.
I'm going to ask Lyle in the future, would you put that put the web link somewhere in a calendar where I don't have to go back to the website to get it, so it's a little easier to grab a hold of. Not that it's hard, but I do 2 or 3 Zoom meetings a day, and this one is, for some reason. I think I was on a Bluetooth and it cut my speakers off. And I can't.
I'm holding him up a note.
Use your phone.
Did you see that, Jim? Well, I keep
send me
talking
the
to
link to the site if you would. Yeah. Yeah. Can you hear me? You can't hear me on the phone.
This is like Saturday Night Live skit.
Yeah.
The lady that always gets up like this.
I know.
We'll call you, Larry. I'm gonna call you Lyle. That's Larry. Shit, that's not Lyle. Lyle, call me again. Can you hear me? Okay. I was looking at both of them. Why don't I just do this? I think if I can hear you.
Let me send you the link.
Okay. I'll link it on my cell phone.
All right.
Anybody know any good Zoom jokes?
At least we haven't alerted the media so that this is going to be on.
Did you send it to my Belle Meade address? Your text, here it is. Here we go. All right. That's not good.
Oh.
Can everybody hear me? Oh, no.
Mute your computer.
What's that?
Jim, mute your computer and keep the call on your cell. And that should stop the feedback.
What?
Mute your computer.
Yeah.
And then keep it on your cell. And now we shouldn't have any feedback.
Except we need to move your phone.
There you go.
Sorry.
Wrong way.
Shoot that. Okay. Has that got it?
There we go.
Okay. Can y'all hear me
You
okay?
don't have to do video on your phone. Do video on the computer.
I'm with you.
Yeah.
There you
Move
go.
your phone so we're not looking at different body parts.
That's the that's the
Thank
beautiful.
you, Beth.
We know you have on shorts.
Oh my God. How about all right. You're right. You embarrassed? Are you embarrassed, Kathy, or is it just me that should be embarrassed?
Just you.
Okay. All right. I'll
I'm
try
not
that.
embarrassed. It's just funny.
Okay. Shoot, I was trying to be so fancy by having the agenda as something I could go to the screen and whatever. I'm just going to say the hell with it. I'm glad to be on here. You all want to say the pledge? I don't know if we need to. I mean, look at that. We got Louisa standing.
We can see it.
I pledge allegiance
Allegiance
to the
flag of the United States of America and to the republic
for which
which
it stands,
stands one nation
under
God,
God, indivisible,
with
liberty and justice for all.
Whew, thank you. I am really, really sorry because yesterday I was on the BZA meeting and I using Bluetooth for my cell phone. That's what might have screwed something up. But Laura Catherine, I'm gonna have to get you over here and figure that what I was doing wrong.
I'll give you a Zoom tutorial.
Okay, I've only been using it now for 5 months. Still hadn't got it. Okay. We will open the public comments portion of the meeting. If we got anyone from the public here other than Steve, I see Steve and Laura Catherine, you're really part of this deal.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
Mayor Tom Druffel here.
Oh, Tom, I didn't pull the screen down. How are you doing, Tom?
Good, very good.
You have any comments, public comments?
Yeah, very, very quickly, because the home business bill doesn't affect you, but for those that it affects outside, we were able to, I voted against it, but we were able to try to improve the language quite a bit. So 2 strikes, I got 2 or 3 amendments on, such as 2 strikes you're out versus 3. Try to limit space. Originally it was 2,400 square feet that you could use. Now it's down to 1,000. So anyhow, really the best I could do is try to limit language, but home and business bill outside of Belle Meade is going to start within the next couple of weeks. So a little concerning about the kind of businesses that can happen, but just be aware that's coming. The other thing that I'm working on that I think is going to get important is the debt policy. I've asked Director of Finance and through a bill, one of my first bills was to relook at debt policy for Metro with developing some metrics to sort of help guide it, because our debt's is getting bad quickly. It's gone from 10 to 14%, going on 18%. So Director of Finance Crumbo and I had a chance to talk and got that where we're going to start looking at metrics, trying to figure out ways to curb debt. So a lot more than that. Our meetings go to 2 or 3 in the morning. I never thought I was going to be doing that, but that's about when I get up. So life is interesting. Any questions for me? I didn't want to glaze over, but I didn't want to hold you guys back. The budget, of course, was approved, and I made comments on that.
I have a question, Tom. This is Kathy. There is a lot of email circulations about signing something to try to get a referendum on this property tax. Is that a legit thing? Is that something that could happen?
There's a couple things going on, Kathy. There's a recall for those that voted for the budget. I was one of the 8 that didn't vote for it, so I sort of feel fortunate not to have to go through that. But for the mayor, and then there's this other referendum that's calling for setting up parameters so that you can't increase the budget any more than, or the revenue and taxes any more than 2% a year. It creates some parameters. I don't know how legitimate it is. I've seen it. Actually, I just talked to a constituent that started talking about it. There's a lot of frustration out there right now, and I know there's a fair amount of concerns, and people are starting to pull together some organization against allowing any more debt and any more revenue property tax increases. So I could go over that for a while, but if any of you have questions on that, I will be glad to answer specific questions. But I fought it pretty hard, and I had some actually suggestions. I had one amendment to look at fees and commissions that actually got passed, because we haven't looked at it in 12 years. Could raise tens of millions of dollars outside of property tax. Anyhow, there's a lot of things that I think we could work harder at, but I don't know much more about that outside of I heard those comments.
Anything else from Tom?
And police chief, by all means, I'm all for the police. This defunding the police, I've had thousands of emails. The craziest thing in the world. I completely against that, chief.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, I just can't even imagine. People talk to me, and I don't even want to talk to them about it. So, thank you.
Anything else from Tom?
Thanks, Mayor.
Thank you, Tom. Anything else from the public? If not, we'll close the public comments portion. And the first order of business is approval of the minutes of the regular meeting of June 17th. Motion to approve.
There's a small typo on page 2 under city services. The last paragraph, the current study reveals some slowdown at the choke points on the streets, not joke points. Small typo. It's not a joke.
Edie, you got that? I guess she does. She's on mute.
She's muted, I think.
Okay, it's just a
Is that the
small
only
typo.
comment, Louise? Is there any other comment with that change by Louise? Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Motion made by Louise.
Second. Rusty
Seconded.
Moore.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Rusty? No, not Rusty.
Or
Sorry.
yes.
Kathy, sorry. Kathy, Louise, Jim.
Aye.
Okay. Aye.
Rusty Moore, aye. Got it.
Minutes are approved. First report, Public Works, Larry.
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor. Any questions or concerns on the report?
Hey, Larry, the first one is, can you correct that to my address instead of my in-laws address, just for the records? I don't know if it matters, but I'm 1008.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. I mean, that's theirs, but I don't know if it matters or not, but might as well make it right.
Larry and I discussed this format, which I had, in certain circumstances, it becomes a little bit confusing as to made the request and who was the complainant and who was the who was being complained against. And Larry, you want to comment about what we're going to do from this point on?
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor. Under where it says name, from now on, below that we'll have the name and the address, and then below that we'll have complainant. It'll either be a name, or if Public Works, or if it's a resident that every once in a while have a resident we don't have a name, that don't want their name PD. And that's the format, and it would be under where the name is. So like where it says John Nadine on that second one, next one, it would be complainant, and it would be the name of the complainant.
Gotcha. Anybody have any questions about that? This is sort of be clear as to who is being who's involved in this and who had complained and who was being complained against.
Who's the homeowner and who's the complainant? Okay, thank you.
So, Larry, how did we spot the guy putting the mower in the dumpster?
Actually, one of the officers saw him do it, and we had it on camera, and they got his had his driver's license information, as well as we had the tag. So I just carried it over and delivered it to him.
How far did he live from here? Was he close to Belle Meade?
Actually, he borrowed a neighbor's truck, and the actual address that the truck went to was outside of the city. But the guy in question had borrowed the truck from that guy, and he's the one that took it. And he was actually the one that put it in there by the video, by the picture.
You never know what this video system's going to disclose. Anything else on the activity report from Public Works? All right. I'd like to change the order slightly of the next move up the request for parade permit. Beth, you want to comment on what we've heard from Molly and what's maybe happening with the Boulevard vote?
Sure. She had emailed me back yesterday after I emailed her to find out what their plans were, if they were making any plans yet for the race. And she emailed back and said that they were having a board meeting last night. I have not heard from her today, but she felt strongly that the board meeting last night would be a vote to have a virtual race and not an in-person race. I don't know how a virtual race worked, but apparently it's been done before. She was researching other events that went to a virtual race during COVID. So they may not have anything in November on Thanksgiving Day like they usually do. She did ask permission to put some banners up to thank the sponsors and things like that. So I'll respond to her about that because the size she was asking for is a lot bigger than what we allow. So I'll work that out with her. But as of right now, it looks like there will not be an in-person Boulevard Bolt. But I haven't confirmed that with her yet after their meeting last night.
Beth, after that change, if that changes, we've still got plenty of time to approve this, right? If they come back and decide they want to do it.
Yes, I don't know when their cutoff for actual registration is if they decide to go to the usual format, but we've got a couple months anyway, probably about 2 months where we can work things out if things change.
Okay.
Are we going to look at putting the COVID language?
That we would put this on hold, and so it would just remain on hold. It's like an ordinance.
Yes, someone asked that. Yes, we were talking about adding language, saying something about it that complying with the general metro guidelines. But I think at this point, they're not even wanting us to do anything.
Right.
Do we need to defer it again? The minute said 30 days when I was reviewing the minutes. Last month we were deferred just because I made the motion.
It is an action item, so I think that would be proper just to put it
All right,
on.
I'll move deferral for 30 days.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Motion. All in favor, say
Aye.
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 Kathy Altenburn, aye.
Louise Bryan, aye.
Jim Hunt, aye.
Rusty Moore, aye.
Bob Wiggle, aye.
I think that though our parade event permit form should just have the COVID disclaimer on it, or we should start to move in that direction. I mean, there could be a small gathering requested in the next few weeks, and we want to have that language in there anyway. Doug, is there something basic that groups are using, the COVID language?
Funny you asked that. I talked to the Tennessee Municipal Association. Is that me? I mean, it'd be easy enough to add a sentence about that. Cities don't have any liability for permitting events anyway.
Okay.
The existing language is more than adequate, of course, to requiring the event sponsor to hold us harmless. I think an extra step, if we ended up doing something like this, would be also to require them to have all their participants sign, and that may be part of their sign-up papers anyway, but just to layer them in ways as you can. But it's funny you mentioned that I'm getting a lot of, in both commercial and governmental contexts, a lot of emails floating around our firm about special COVID-19 release language.
Okay.
I'll share that when we need to.
Thank you.
Sure.
I'm getting all these calls that I love to pick up and answer. Doug, could you get a little closer to the microphone? I noticed yesterday during the BZA that you were a lot less volume than everybody else. So.
Oh, really? I'm very sorry. I didn't know. Somebody should have said something.
Well, it was okay. We could hear, but we had to strain a little bit.
Really? Okay.
Too, so.
Everybody okay now?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's better.
Okay. Good.
That brings up another question. We had this next door neighbor, not my next door neighbor, but lived on Belle Meade Boulevard, who was trying to organize some type of protest or march, and obviously it died very quickly, but one thing that helped it was the fact that we would require a permit to be on Belle Meade Boulevard, and rather than just the city issuing a permit, it would have to be commissioner approved. Is that, Beth, how does that worded in the bylaws, that you have to have?
Well, I put all that language on the website under the how do I apply for a parade permit, but you have to formally address the commissioners with a parade permit application at their meeting, and you have to get their approval before you can use any of our streets for a parade or a march or a rally or anything.
A solicitor permit is granted by whom? By the chief or?
No, the city, well, we have a solicitor permit is granted by City Hall.
That's what I mean, but is it anybody in City Hall? Is it you, or is it chief, or?
I sign it, the city manager signs it, but that is soliciting door to door. That's not.
Oh, I know what that is. I just want to make
Okay.
sure how that differs from a parade or a boulevard type permit.
They're two different applications, completely different.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. We will move then with number 2 on the Public Works proposal from Barge Cawthorn Engineering Services for annual street resurfacing project. Larry, you want to talk a little bit about what that resurfacing project entails? I think we can look at that, but.
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor. We're wanting to resurface Chantry Lane North, Chantry Lane South, Honeywood Drive, and the old section of Linwood Boulevard, the little tiny section that runs between Linwood Terrace and Linwood Lane, Linwood Boulevard, that little section there. That is the sections that we want to pave.
Great. And this would be covered mostly or entirely by the MOU with Metro Nashville. So that's very, very encouraging. Louise, you might go ahead. Who was that?
That's Bob.
Yeah, Bob.
Larry, I think I know the answer to this, but are there any other streets that are more important than those streets as far as urgency go?
Not at this time, sir.
Okay.
One of the things that
in fact, you want to do them right away, don't you, before the winter comes?
Yes, sir. We want to get on these as soon as y'all approve them. We would get them to draw up the specs, and we will bid it out and get them started as soon as possible. We do not want to get into the end of the year trying to get striping and paving done when it's cold.
Louise, you might be interested
when
to
will
know
we
that.
be getting estimates on that? As soon as we approve it, or what? When will?
As soon as if you all approve the proposal from Barge Cawthorn that's on the agenda today, then they will immediately start preparing the bid specs, Bob, so that we can bid this out quickly, and I'm hoping have it back before the commissioners in the August agenda.
Okay.
With the pricing, and then we could approve it and get them started late summer, early fall, like Larry said, before it gets cold.
And I see the MOU pays for most of it.
Yes.
What's estimated anyway. Yeah.
Correct.
Okay. That sounds good.
Louise, you might be interested to know that in master planning that this MOU would cover sidewalks, would cover it would cover those welcoming to Belle Meade type things in the roadway. So we've got some real flexibility with that if we need to use those funds for something. If we need to skip a year of paving, or if we need to modify the paving, we would have those funds for that too. So I think that's
Great news. Thank you. Thank you. I did not realize that. Thank you.
And Beth, I have a quick question for Beth on this. So when we say that the total project is $307,175, does that include this this $16,500 we're spending now, or is this outside of that?
That's outside. They're estimating that's going to be the cost of paving based on the asphalt pricing currently. So that's an estimate. And we hope
That's the way I read it, but I just wasn't 100% sure.
yeah, and that does not include the engineering. That's separate outside of that 307.
Right, okay.
All right, we're looking for approval of 16,500 for the engineering report.
I move that we approve.
Motion made to
Second.
approve. Who seconded? Louise? Louise seconded?
Yes.
Let's have a vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Kathy Altenburn, aye.
Louise Bryant, aye.
Jim Hunt, aye.
Rusty Moore, aye.
Bob Weigel, aye.
Passes. Let's go to the second item. Proposal from Barge Cawthorn on the street condition inventory. Beth, you want to talk about the last inventory that was done and what that actually does? Larry, you can jump in there too on that inventory too.
Sure, Larry, anytime. The first inventory, and which was also the last one, was done in completed in the fall of 2013. So we've gone through most of the streets that needed paving, and Larry had called Barge Cawthorn and suggested that they come back out and do another streets condition inventory, even though we haven't completely finished paving all the streets that are in the current inventory. At least we would include those and then all of the other streets so that we'd have a document that could be used probably for a decade or two, even how long some of these streets, need paving again, now that we're pretty well caught up with most of them. So I think it's a good time to go ahead and have Barge Cawthorn do that. And then we've got a great document that will carry us through for a long time. Help the Public Works Department a lot with their program.
Larry, you want to make any comment?
Yes, sir, just briefly. We've just gotten to the point that we're all the streets that are left are in fair and good condition or excellent condition. So from a public works standpoint, I don't want to make the decision, and Beth doesn't want to make the decision which we're going to pave next. And since it's been 7 or 8 years since that report was done, since we did it last time, and there's been a lot more traffic, a lot more construction. We've got some streets that we need to look at, and they can regrade it, and that's basically what it's for. So we have a good, clear. We're not just going out paving streets that don't need to be paved.
Gotcha. And this gives us a lot better feeling of long-range planning. Do I hear a motion for the acceptance of the fee of $16,500 broken down into $15,000 lump sum fee and $1,500 as an estimated budget for the hourly as needed?
Tim, this is a total of $29,500 on this one. And I will move for approval of this because I think having this will be really helpful for our master plan and our master planners going forward. But this is a total, I believe, of $29,500.
If you look on the back of the second page.
Yeah, it is. It's more than
16.
What the paving proposal is. I think you were looking at the paving proposal, Jim.
Beth, what is the number?
$29,500.
Yeah, it's at the bottom of. It's at the bottom of page 16. I've got it marked off in a square. I marked it with Sharpie. The 29.5 is broken down into 3 steps, but it's pretty labor intensive for the engineers because they really go out and grade each street. And I don't know what kind of equipment they use, Larry. You maybe were with them last time, but it's going to take them a while to do this.
So trying to do a note again for Jim. Jim, we've lost your audio again.
He's muted. Well, he had to be.
No, he dropped off.
His phone dropped off.
And he's talking away. Oh, gosh. Maybe I can.
Beth, you don't think that is a rubber stamping, so to speak, of what they did before. And they do spend a lot of time looking at all the streets.
Well,
You know, I'm saying they're not just adding.
No, they're not going to just replicate what they did last time. They will
Where's
actually
Laura Catherine
physically
when I
go
needed her?
out
I'm
and
trying,
look
just
at
trying
each
to connect.
And how many times have they done this, Beth?
This will be
Just
the
one
second
time
time.
in 2013 or what?
That was the first time ever that we've had anything like this done.
It came about because we wanted an opinion on, I mean, in the past, from what I remember, Beth, there weren't professionals going around saying what needed to be paved. In this way, there's
Right. Louise, I'm going to ask you to take over the meeting at this point, and
Okay.
I'll get on as soon as I can.
Okay. All right, we're on page 16.
I think we were at this point voting on the on the fee.
All right,
for
Louise,
the,
I made a motion, but we don't have a second yet.
Is there more discussion about this? Bob, I know you were talking about, are you in the middle of a question, Bob?
Well, you know, we certainly have a public works director that's been there for several years, and he knows the condition of a lot of the streets, and probably all of them. I'm just wondering if this is good money to be spent by the engineers. I don't know. I know Larry wants to take the heat off of him because some people want to move ahead in the schedule and all that. But is this good money to be spent? I don't know.
Okay. Well, Beth, is there a way do we have to commit to the whole 29.5, or can we commit to 9,000? I mean, it does seem like $30,000 for a little bit of a, so that we don't hurt anybody's feelings on different streets. I mean, so I understand that it's more analysis and more engineering than certainly I can do, but
well, they describe, I don't think we can approve one phase and not the others. They go in hand. They also do a probable cost of everything. They go in and estimate by the linear footage and the current asphalt prices and projected asphalt prices for years forward, come up with probable costs for us. They don't just look at a street and say, well, that looks like it's in good condition. I mean, they're looking at, on page 15, they describe how they verify the condition of the surface, the base and subgrade, the shoulders, the pavement markings, the striping, other factors, and they have a grading system that they use so that they're grading each street the same way. They're not just eyeballing it and saying, well, yeah, that one looks good, but they might go to another street and say, well, this one looks even better. Better than what? What kind of standards are you going by? Just you're eyeballing it, but they have standards that they apply to every street. It's the same standards, graded a certain way, and come up with their ratings of bad, fair, good, excellent, and also a probable cost based on when they're projecting it needs to be paved 5 years out, 10 years out, 8 years out. They're applying that asphalt cost and the labor cost, all of that. I mean, that's not really something our staff can do. It does seem like a lot of money, but it's a document that I said we're going to use for 10, 15 or more years to guide us.
Yeah, it's helped. I think it's helped compared to the way we did it in the past, where it was, we can still choose to delay a paving if a road hasn't gotten as much more wear, but it gives sort of a template so that every street is treated the same.
Right.
So I thought it was super helpful.
Ms. Louise?
Any other? Yes, Larry.
Part of this also, what they do is they have now the engineer has access to a service where they come and it's hooked to the back of the truck, and it actually shoots radar in, and we see subsurface areas that we can't see with the visual eye as part of this now. That's how much it's improved since 2013. So that is an added bonus that we get to see the substructure and what's going on with the pavement. We can hopefully avoid some failures of streets and some issues in the past that were in the past in the future. I think I said that twisted, but I think you got that right.
That's helpful. Thank you. Yes. Is there any further discussion?
Let me ask you one question. Who do the majority of the civil engineering work for the streets in Belle Meade before Barge Wagner then has done the work? Barge Coffin, I mean. Who was it, and were you happy with them, or were they consistent with the pricing with Barge Coffin?
Barge, Wagner, Sumner, and Cannon, I believe, for decades. When I came here, they had done a lot, pretty much all of the city's engineering work. And in the past, the commissioners, I guess it was maybe in the 2000s, said, you know, we need to kind of start using other firms a little bit. So that's when we had our civil engineer became CEC and for the stormwater. And then we used for the road maintenance Barge Coffin. We've hired one or two other firms for some other jobs. We're not just devoted. When I first came here, Barge, Wagner, Sumner, and Cannon did any and all engineering work for the city, everything. Sewer, public works, everything. So at some point during the early 2000s, the commissioner said we need to diversify a little bit and have different engineering firms do different aspects of the city's work. So that's where we are today.
Okay. I'm a civil engineer. Can I get in on this?
Conflict of interest.
Is your license up to date?
No.
Any further discussion on this?
No.
Okay.
We do not have a second yet.
I'll second. That's Kathy.
All right. There's been a motion and a second. All those in favor vote aye.
Aye.
Kathy Altenburn, aye.
Louise Bryan, aye.
Jim Hunt, aye.
Trustee Moore, aye.
Bob Weigel, aye.
The motion carries.
I've got my sound back now. Louise, you want to continue on, or you want me to take it back over?
You can take over. You got it, Jim.
Okay. I was going to bring up a picture of the street light behind me, but because of the fact I'm standing, I'll have to kind of sit back down and move my camera back down. So everybody's seen that, I presume, by now.
There it is.
There it is. Any comments about it?
Look fantastic.
Especially when you compare it to the other light that's up there, you can see that. Beth, you want to update us on where that is now?
Sure. Last week, I drafted a letter that the mayor signed to NES authorizing them to proceed with the purchase of these fixtures. And NES is required to bid this sort of a thing just like the city is. So there are 3 distributors of this Hall of Fame fixture. So they will contact those 3 distributors for their pricing on these fixtures. And we'll select the one that is the best suited to supply the fixtures. And then NES will purchase them and keep them in stock for us. And then after that is done, they will be able to compute what the upfront cost would be and what the cost would be to amortize over the 18.2 years that TVA requires. And then it's up to the commissioners to choose which method of payment they want to do for the fixtures. So I hope that there's not going to be a big lead time on getting the fixtures once they approve the distributor. But NES told us that once the fixtures are here for all 114 poles, it will take them about 2 weeks to get them all installed for the whole boulevard. So,
oh, that's quick.
They're here.
Good, Beth. Thank you. So we're in motion on this, and so we look forward to making sure we know what the prices are and that the time schedule. But I think that we're doing it as fast as we can. So good. We'll move on now to city services with Chief.
Yeah, good afternoon, everyone. Everyone had an opportunity to look over the report for the police department.
Chief, I have, that's Rusty Moore. I have two questions. Is there a plan, I guess is the word, for sort of going back to having the officers issue citations? I mean, I see that there's still, you know, we're still issuing. I see way more this year, this month than back in May. But what are we looking at going forward? Sort of what's the plan on that?
Well, we had started an uptick when we got into phase 3, but we have encouraged them. We've got plenty of PPE. And hopefully we'll see those numbers rise, especially now with the mask order completely being in effect, because most times they're going to be 6 feet of distance, but when you issue this traffic citation, you're going to be person to person. And then you know, we've got plenty of gloves right now, so we'll have to exchange gloves on each stop. But we're working back that way. Like I said, we started kind of when phase 3 hit, we upped the ante a little bit, and then phase 2 come back, and so I think we're in the middle of that. But you should see that number rise unless it gets worse.
I don't say that.
I think people are, you know, just from my citizen point of view, I think people are a little bit taking advantage of that, particularly in the speeding aspect. And then this is my second question, if you will. So have you had any reports, or are you guys addressing any gatherings where it appears that there are more than the amount that's permitted at the time?
This month, we have not had any reports that I'm aware of. A couple months ago, we had some activity at the Palmer Park, and of course, they removed the basketball goals, and then I believe they put them back up. So with phase 2 back, I'm not sure if Park is going to come remove the goals or not. So it's a tedious area to be in. Fortunately, yeah, go ahead.
What would we do? How would you address a gathering in someone's home, but where there are more than the permitted amount? Is that within our jurisdiction, or how would that go?
It's a little tricky on that. Doug can probably back me up on this. A private residence, there's a lot more. There's a less enforcement than we could get in if it's a private home. You know, if you've got a gathering of people on private property, that can get a little gnarly with the Constitution. I think with the mask now, like a business, we could follow Metro's mask order, but we would have to cite them through Metro's court through their public health. We could probably, Belle Meade could probably adopt a sort of a sister ordinance here that's in line with the health department, so we could try those cases in city court rather than having an officer have to go downtown. And like I say, fortunately, we only have one real commercial business here. We've got, of course, we got the club, but then the really one open to the public would be the plantation. Most of it's outside. If they're in the restaurant, they're exempt. The only place would actually be the gift shop, where we would have a potential hotspot, or the winery.
No, I was really referring to gatherings in people's homes and wondering what our jurisdiction was.
Yeah, to give you the correct answer, I would like to dig into that a little bit more. And Doug may have something he may want to speak.
I don't know if it's a question of jurisdiction, Rusty, so much as the practicality of enforcing it, but there may indeed be privacy of constitutional concern if the people are all in the house. I think if they were out in the yard and the officer could see that they were more than the allowed number, I'm guessing he would probably go up there and just say, "Tell me what's going on here, y'all. Be safe. Let's be safe," or something. You know, I'm sure there's different gradations of enforcement here. But I don't know the answer. I'm not sure I know the answer to it, but I think that we have jurisdiction over private homes, but I don't know what kind of gatherings. It might be tough without some kind of warrant. In fact, I wouldn't try it without some kind of warrant. Anyway,
I just wondered. I think there. Okay.
That's
I
my
won't
only
ask any further.
constitutional analysis. Sorry.
Y'all, Rusty, you and Chief settled up now?
Yeah, those are answers anyway.
Clear as mud, right, Commissioner?
Right, that's
Hey,
right.
I know we had a lot going on this past 4 to 6 weeks with the protest downtown, and now we've had some situations where some protesters in St. Louis have gone out to some suburban areas, and I just want to make sure that you and your force are aware and trained and ready to respond quickly to anything that might happen in Belle Meade.
Yes, sir. Most everything here is private property, and you know we've got we share intel regularly with Metro PD. Also in reference to that, the Tennessee Highway Patrol is keeping a large contingent of troopers in the Nashville area when these riots are going, or when these protests, should I say? I'm sorry about that. Protests are going. If they look like they're going to spill out under mutual aid, we could get additional personnel. In addition, if we have intel, I have been a few times I have put officers on standby, and that puts them in a situation they need to be able to get here, in about 30 minutes. In other words, you can go ahead and have your cookout, but you can't have a glass of wine, so to speak. But I feel like in one case several weeks ago, we actually we had extra officers in, myself included, for several hours one evening, just due to some intel. Fortunately, it did not come true, but there was no direct threat, but there were threats that it might spread out into the Green Hills and other areas and parts of Nashville. And so I feel like we're as prepared as we can be. And because it's one thing if they march down the street, it's another thing if they start trespassing on the private property and threatening our residents. So we can certainly say it's a clear-cut line there on as far as making arrest or how we can handle those situations.
Good, Chief. You and I stayed in close touch with that anyway, so I'm glad to know that you're on top of it.
Yes, sir.
Anything else from the chief and the detective's report or anything else that Bob, he's got this LPR report on here. Do you want to ask any questions about that?
Which one, Jim?
He's got the special page on the LPR report on stolen vehicles and stolen tags.
Now, let me
Page
get
23.
what page number is that?
23.
No questions.
Okay.
Mayor, if you will, there was a notation about the one that Vice Mayor had a correction in the minutes.
Yes.
I had a little quick information that Lyle might be put. I didn't know if the residents from 400 block would be here. They were concerned. It seemed like speeding was up at the choke point that we created. I also emailed all of you guys. Sorry, Doug, I don't think I emailed you. We did a snapshot, and in this document, the original report of speeding of the speed study was given, is attached to all of this. We did a 3-day snapshot, which we're not worried about volume, just looking at the speeds. And according to the data, it's actually down a little. I mean, it's minuscule at the end of the day when you look at it, but it seems to be holding pretty consistent. The pace speed range is up about 1 mile an hour, but our average speed is staying pretty stable. And about 85% of the vehicles are traveling, almost 1 mile an hour over the speed limit, 30.999 or 30.99. And, I'm happy to, and that was a one-lane study on that. Lyle, can you scroll up a little bit more? Yeah, go scroll to the next. Yeah. Yes, scroll on down a little bit to the third page. Okay, that's the southbound lane is what I did the direct comparison to, but it seems to be pretty stable. Sometimes it's just it really can be perception. I'm happy to run another like a week or 2 week study to see, but it seems to be stable according to the data.
Chief, this is Rusty Moore. Would it be a good idea, and other commissioners, to share this data with the Linwood residents? I think this is good data.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm happy for y'all to share it with them. I'm sure if we do the the volume, if we do like a full 7 or 10 day study, you're probably going to see the volume up. Because people are still getting out with the good weather, and between volume, if you're trying to walk on a road that has no shoulder on it, or if you're bicycling on that particular part of the roadway, it can get crowded very quickly.
We are hearing from different parts of Linwood on this, and it's certainly not just one little section.
No.
The neighborhood watch people have been reporting to their captain, who's been reporting to me. So I think we've seen a good bit of concern. So I think it'd be good, Rusty, that we share this information, that we know what's going on. Thank you.
Thank you, Lyle.
Chief, you got anything else?
No, sir. I'm good.
All right. You back up for health and sanitation.
Larry?
Yes, sir. Mr. Mayor, any questions or concerns on the report?
I got, before we get into that, Rusty, let me ask you a question. Is this something that you'd like to summarize the results of what the chief just went over and send to basically the people along Linwood Boulevard that it affects? Is it?
Yes, I think that's what I'm saying. I just always like when we're collecting data and doing a good job at monitoring what's going on, that we share that with the people who are out there asking us the questions. And so I'm not sure exactly what format it should be in, but I do think it would be nice to share it, even if we were just sharing it on our website.
You think this ought to be your mouthpiece, or you think this should, the summary of the results should come from the chief, or what?
Oh, I think definitely from the chief, because that's just showing our citizens that we're paying attention to the things that they're concerned about and looking at it and studying it. And Louise, you're the communications expert too, a little bit, so please weigh in on what you might think.
I think if Chief ran the study, then it should come from Chief. It could certainly go in the newsletter, or it could go on the website, and then we could ask the neighborhood watch captains on Linwood to make note of it. But I agree with Rusty. There's a lot of good news and a lot of hard work that happens that I think stays behind the scenes too much.
I agree with Rusty as well, and I didn't want to step on anybody's toes. I didn't know if Rusty, if you wanted to be the mouthpiece of it, or
No, not at all. I think the chief. I think that's best coming from the chief and just showing the work that our staff in the city does, and I think that's the most important communication.
Chief sends me good many things that I just forward on to the neighborhood watch people, and so it comes from the chief. So it's easy for him. He sends us something that he's already gone through, and we just forward it on out, and we get really good response too from the neighborhood watch people. So Chief, why don't we just do that? I don't know, I thought the format's pretty understandable. I don't know that with that. If you want to doctor it a little bit cheaper, it becomes a little bit more neighbor friendly. You can do that.
Yes, sir. I'll take this and see if I can get it squashed down a little bit. And you know, there's a few filler in places. We've kind of been talking about this for a while, so I kind of kept it to the point. But I think I could expound on it a little bit. Maybe send it to Vice Mayor Bryan. Let her put her communications eye on it, and maybe we can do a little team effort. We can get a document that we can launch, like you said, on the website. And then once that document's complete, I'm happy to send it to you and you can push it out to the block captain.
That'd be fine. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Team effort.
Absolutely. Go team.
All right. Going back to Larry, health and sanitation.
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor. Any questions or concerns on the report?
Bob, you have anything you want to ask Larry out there? With hearing nothing from Bob, I will move on to the next item, proposal from CEC for engineering services. This is the sewer system modeling project, which we met on and earlier in the year and learned a lot about what the modeling program is. And Steve, you want to make any comments about what we've got here to consider?
Sure, Mayor. Thank you. This proposal is more than just modeling. It is putting a bid package together, some plans and specifications for actually doing a project. And it also includes updating the model with the information that we plan to do, just to confirm, you know, like we said at that meeting back earlier this year, it will confirm through modeling that it's a good idea to go forward with the project. So this is updating the model with that information as well as putting together that bid package. And that also includes some budget in there to do some limited construction oversight.
Let me ask you a question, Steve.
Sure.
Are we talking about spending $154,000 over the next fiscal year for this modeling project?
I think it's broken down to 129,000 in the 25.
Yeah, that is not Steve's number necessarily, Bob. This is Beth. The $154,000 is what we budgeted in the sewer department for a sewer modeling project, including engineering. So what we're looking at today is a proposal from CEC for $25,000, and that will come out of that 154. So the balance will be 129.
Yeah.
For the next fiscal year, the fiscal year we're in now.
The fiscal year that we are in currently, yes, sir.
It's all been budgeted, but we're voting today just on the 25,000. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. All right. You answered my question.
Steve, you've done a really good job of laying this thing out. I think it makes a lot of sense.
Appreciate that.
I would entertain a motion if there are no further questions on a motion to approve the not to exceed 25,000 for engineering services for the sewer system modeling project.
I make that motion.
Motion made by Bob Weigel. Is there a second?
Second.
I will second.
This looks like Hollywood Squares. I think that, Rusty, that was you, I believe.
I think it was both me and Louise. So you put down either one of us. We both love it.
Okay. Both love sewer projects. Good.
Yes,
we got a
love
motion. We got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye. Kathy?
Aye.
Louise Bryan, aye.
Jim Hunt, aye.
Rusty Moore, aye.
Bob Weigel, aye.
Motion passes. Steve, thanks again for your hard work and look forward to working with you throughout this whole project.
Great. Thank you
very much. Anything else you want to add, Steve?
I appreciate being able to be on these meetings. I know the virtual is not always the best, but it's been really convenient to join this way.
Yeah.
So, and it's I really appreciate working with the city all these years, and look forward to continuing that.
Thank you, Steve. I would actually welcome another meeting just with Steve that we had months ago when we were still meeting in person, where we went a little deeper into this project in the next few months. I'll just throw that out.
Okay. Yeah, be happy to do that. I'll get something on the calendar.
Steve, a little bit different subject. Did you know Ty Osmond?
The name does not ring a bell.
Solomon Brothers. He was a principal in Solomon. He had a boating accident Saturday and was killed.
Oh no!
He was the person that's built every major exhibit at the zoo, the construction.
Oh my goodness!
Great guy. 54 years old, and his son died in an automobile accident about 10 years ago. So what a tragic life that.
That's who was building the new clinic at Faith Family was Ty. That's terrible.
A great guy, and really a very religious guy, and he's just a perfect person, and just great to see him lose his life that way. Anyway,
now that you Richard Dunlap, I think, mentioned his name to me one time.
He and Rick Swartz are dear friends, and Rick's kind of like they're like brothers, because he's built most of the projects at the zoo without actually being bid projects. So
right,
because they've bid a few, and then he always comes in and can do these things without a set of plans, because Rick never has any plans, as you well know, Steve.
That's right.
Okay. If y'all didn't know, Steve he's the guy that watches all the bad water that flows to the zoo and tells us and the crawfish that are killed over there. So,
right.
Steve, anyway, I thought you might want to know that.
Yes, thank you. I appreciate that.
Without further ado, we'll move on to building, zoning, and planning with Lyle Patterson.
Happy to answer any questions you may have about the report submitted.
You want to update us a little bit on your BZA session with Doug Berry yesterday?
Sure. We asked Doug to do a tutorial on procedures and the powers of the board, and all the board members attended. It was a good Q&A session at the end, and I appreciate Doug doing that. I think we got some good out of it. I even today forwarded 3 or 4 videos on Robert's rules to the board members, just so they could look at those on their own time and help run the boards more efficiently.
Looking at your building permits, the closed on the back page. Are things picking up a little bit now?
They are. We're permit value wise, we're down.
Yeah.
But that's going to come back. Every month that'll start to come back. As far as the permit fee, we're off by a little over $1,900.
How you think we're gonna, in your crystal ball, you think we'll last year's figures as far as construction goes?
I think you asked Bob, it kind of broke up on me, if we were going to surpass last year. Is that correct?
Oh, well, I'm just saying, are we going to equal last year's?
I think we're going to be close. We've got 3 or 4 people lined up to come to the Historic Zoning Committee for new houses this next month. So people are waiting for the wings. So it's going to be close.
Good.
Now, last year we did have 2 really big permits. We had the club and we had St. George's. So that's going to be tough to compete with.
Yeah.
Well, Bob may want to put another pool in his house, so Okay. Anything else, Lyle?
No.
Okay. We've got info, Belle Meade Plantation Activity Permit. Beth, I don't have that. You emailed that out.
I did. Lyle, did you have that?
Can you put that? Can you display that?
PDF up?
Is that for the plantation?
Yes.
Yes. their activity report.
I have to say, it was a little distressing to read this, frankly.
It was sad.
Mm-hmm.
It was depressing.
Well, and they're just one of probably lots of similar places that are facing the same stuff. It's just, they were going gangbusters. Are you still on that board, Jim?
Yeah, I am. Mm-hmm. You know, they did use some of this COVID time to build the restaurant, and I think to do some fine tuning at the winery, but they really need to get this thing back in phase 3 and 4. Well, you want to make any comments? I know you spend time down there, from eating at the restaurant to talking to the folks down there. You have any inside feelings about what's going on?
Not particularly. I think the restaurant is doing pretty darn well considering. Yeah, they've really done a fantastic job. That the deck they put on is just a wonderful place to eat and relax. It's in the shade. There's fans going. They're going to have the wine bar, I think, open fairly soon.
Yeah, it was going to open July 4th, but I think that they got caught with the phase 2. So
yeah, they did a really, really great job on that. For those who have not been, the restaurant used to be kind of divided into 2 sections. This is the back section closest to the barn, and it's now the wine bar. And it's a wonderful spot.
Well, when will it start opening at night?
I think that has to be under phase 3, at least phase 3. They were going to open the wine on July 4th. I mean, the wine bar, but I think they've got squelched with the phases. But I think they're ready. Now, don't you think they're ready, Lyle?
I do. They had proposed to be open by now for dinner, and I think you can still go in there and get some things to take home up until possibly 6 o'clock, unless they've changed that.
Yeah, if you hadn't been over there, it's the cooking is good southern cooking. I mean, they vary the meats, but they've got roast beef, and they hit some tenderloin, I think, on the weekends, don't they, Lyle?
Yes, they have. I think it's a prime rib. It's smoked prime rib. It's great brunch area.
So if you haven't gone over there, going over there. It's worth the trip. The thing about it, a meat and 3, eventually you get a little tired of the meats and the 3s. So you can't go over there every day.
Well said.
Lyle could. Lyle could probably. Anyway,
well said.
Anyway, they've done a really good, really nice job, and I think obviously it's been slow now because their traffic is historically been people that are traveling and going to conventions in Nashville, and we try to get local people to go down there so they can have a good time.
Mayor Hunt,
I
have a question. Did the plantation apply for any of the CARES Act?
Oh yeah, they got several $100,000. Yeah.
Okay, good. I was just curious.
Yeah, they have, but that's and they did lay off a good many employees and
right. He mentions that in this document.
Yeah. And that's kind of sad too, because in so many cases these people do not. And the zoos had the same problem, and Cheekwood's had the same problem. Is that a lot of these people needed to get back to work, and they've gone other places, and they've left town and whatever. So they're
right.
Cheekwood wasn't able to hire a lot of the people back that were they're some of their really good people. I mean, they kept their key folks, but a lot of the really good employees they lost them. I think the plantation will be the same.
Mm-hmm.
All right, moving right along. Waste collection. Were there any other questions on the activity permit? What we don't have to vote on. That's just not It's just for information purposes, Beth.
You're right.
He didn't ask for anything that we had to vote on, like the.
No, nothing new. So there's no action on this required.
Waste collection, no matters. Oh, do we have a beautification person here today? Laura Catherine. Hello.
So we had our beautification July meeting on Monday, and it went great. We actually, I had not received a statement since April as far as donations, so I was kind of thinking that things had stagnated, but actually we have received over $10,000 in just that time from April to July. So we are now at 57,755, which is great news. That really is right now, considering COVID and everything else, we are only 19,000 behind last year. So that's very encouraging, considering I was thinking we were going to be much more than that. We are still working on plans for when we go to phase 3, how we can work with our community and incorporate this service and really hit the ground running when we can. But in the meantime, we are continuing to work on our long-term plan or our enhancement strategy. We go back and forth on what we want to call it. Personally, I'm very excited to be on the steering committee as well, so that I can make sure that our beautification long-term plan works hand in hand with the city's long-term plan. I think that's going to be a great partnership. So to that end, starting on Saturday, we are going to be walking the boulevard. We've broken it into 4 sections. We're going to
get a permit? Did you get a permit?
Do I need a permit for 12 people? I can do that. I can.
No, we don't want to vote on that.
But basically, we're going to walk. And it doesn't seem like it'll be a big group. I think at our max we might have 8. But we're doing it in 4. So the first will be from St. George's to Deer Park Triangle, and then we'll do Deer Park Triangle to Club to West Hine, and then West Hine to the park. And we'll talk about each median, each planting, what needs to be replaced, what we can do. We've had a lot of work. We've had a lot of our committee on their own has sort of been researching Pete Oldoff and his philosophy. We would love to sort of focus more on sustainability, on planting perennials instead of just annuals, native plants, etc. So we're really looking forward with a long-term strategy, and we are very excited about that. I do have an update though on Belle Meade Living. We are not going to get the cover, and we are not going to be featured. Actually, they have requested $5,000 to keep printing 1 article a month from us. And as you know, we were producing about 3 articles a month for them. And we do not have that. We have the money, but we don't need to spend it on, an article that may or may not be read. We have only received a donation once for $5,000, and that was from someone's estate. So that's just so far above. Our average donation is $250. And so even if it's a company that wants to give $5,000 to promote us, we would much rather have that money in our reserves and in our funds so that we could use it in a tangible way. I just do not think that is a wise way. I just don't think that's being a good steward of the money that we have been given. So that relationship will not move forward, but we look forward to more articles in the newsletter and things like that. And then the letter, yes.
I mean, I'm kind of shocked about that just because I feel like they're kind of trading on our name, and we provided a lot of content for mostly an ad-driven magazine. That's just kind of disappointing in some way. They're trading on our name.
Kathy, we talked about that at length, and we agree totally. We provide them with the best content they could get.
Yeah.
And they want us to pay for it. They want us to pay when they should be begging for content.
Well, so to the editor's defense, or in the editor's defense, she before had no insight into the financial Hills. Now she's taking that over as well. And she said that she did not realize how expensive it was to put out a glossy magazine like what she does, and that, you know, it's expensive. And I think she's hurting for advertisers. Their model of advertising is not very friendly to small businesses, which is what a lot of her advertisers are, and that's what a target is, you know. And so I think she's having a hard time funding the magazine, and she was thinking this would be an opportunity to grab another spot, but it's just not feasible for us. I don't think it's a good fit. So and that may change. She may turn around, and you know, before the magazine took a hiatus, they definitely needed help gathering content and getting content, and we were happy to provide that. So I would love it if I can come back in a few months and say, actually, they've come back and we will be writing for them. Because it was a good source of publicity, but not at that price.
Yeah, I mean, obviously that's not the right use of funds from Beautification Committee. I did write an article that will appear in the August magazine, and I think she will continue to need content, and we can certainly flip that to beautification. You know, she will need that. She has to get a certain amount of income before she can go to print, and
right.
it is very an economic issue. She's under a lot of pressure.
And that is totally understandable.
Right, yeah. Right. But she'll need content, and we can certainly be available to write that or make sure that happens.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I'm surprised that the magazine taking that attitude. I mean, that's like taking your prize horse and.
I was surprised, for sure.
I think it's a crisis. I think she's been given a certain time period to come up with so much money in advertising, and so she's leaning on us. I think it wouldn't surprise me if we never see another issue of the magazine,
which would be too bad, because the model, I mean, I've seen it in Knoxville. You know, we have Green Hills Lifestyle is sort of, but this model works, and they've got them successful in other markets. I think the Nashville specific Belle Meade, the whole Nashville living, the way it's run, you know, might need a little overhaul, but it can work, and it's a great magazine, and I think our neighbors enjoy reading it, especially the idea of meeting your neighbors and featuring a family and that kind of thing. You know, I would love to see it continue.
well, their readership, you know, was really not a whole lot broader than Belle Meade, but it was the links and was to Highlands and neighbors around us. So it wasn't just Belle Meade. So.
Mm-hmm. But it was definitely our target audience, which was great, because the only thing that was, well, I guess the newsletter is too, just 100% our target audience.
What else you got? Come on, you know you got a lot more stuff.
Actually, that's really it. The last thing we had talked about in our meeting was breaking down LSI contracts into smaller pieces so that beautification can see sort of what we do and how we do. And that is moving forward, and that is certainly on down the road as we get into, and that discussion was really brought about, you know, Jim, you and I talked about within 5 years getting to a place where beautification has input over, like, control of the spending of their funds, or at some point. Right now we just recommend and we ask the Board of Commissioners to approve it, but we would like to have a little more say-so and input into, you know, that kind of thing. And so with this long-term plan, that's going to include a financial aspect. We've got a strategic subcommittee, and we really want them to look at ways we're going to be spending our money and what we'll be targeting on and that kind of thing. And to that end, I think breaking down the LSI contract, because right now it's lumped together with tree trimmings and things like that that are not in the beautification budget. So I think that
Laura Catherine.
Yeah, go ahead, Beth.
I'm sorry to interrupt. Laura Catherine, beautification does not pay for the entire contract.
Right. That's what I'm saying. So
and it is broken down. Their invoices are broken down where we know what's beautification and what's the fund pays for. So
I think what Laura Catherine was referring to is that that all of the LSI, what they do for us is it involves lots of different projects. At some point in time, we could break some of those projects down, even bid them out, so that we could, beautification could play a more important role in some of those bid process. So we know that's down the road a little bit, but I think that's the real potential.
Yeah, thanks, Tim. Do y'all have any questions about that or anything else we discussed?
Did you decided about that mailbox project to be?
That mailbox project, so we had talked about beautification, doing some plantings in order to boost our donations. We were thinking to have sort of a push to do a summer planting for your mailbox with an added donation, and then an extra $100 somebody from Series will plant it. The problem is Creekside is not interested in giving us really a discount. They will give us items that they have on sale already, which are items that are going out of season. So if we plant it, they'll last, a month or two, and that's it. And it's hot, and there's the whole thing of, well, if we plant a mailbox, how many people sprinkler systems go to the mailbox, and are they going to water it? And if not, are they going to blame us? Are they going to expect us to replace it? And so this has been, for the past 2 meetings, we've had discussions, and so we decided that we will flesh all of that out and do it in the spring. So that will be part of our fundraising push for 2021, is we will have, these levels of giving, but then also if you give an extra something, this amount will get you a ground planting, but this amount will get you like a mandevilla, and it'll be, or a clematis, and we'll plant it for you, and that kind of thing. So hopefully, and we'd love to have sort of a look so that, you could tell like, oh, this mailbox was serious. And hopefully that will help drive our donations up, as well as kind of get the word out, a little more community involvement. Anything we can do right now to put our name in front of the citizens, we want to do. So.
Laura Catherine.
Mm-hmm.
This is Bob. As always, I enjoyed your reports. You're very good.
Thank you.
But my only comment is I love those flowers at the corner of Harding Place and Linwood. They're really beautiful.
I'm so glad. That was, so we've subcommittees now, and that was Martha Phipps. I will pass that on. She's very proud of them. I think they look great. Thank you for that, Bob. Appreciate it.
Okay.
Laura Catherine, one thing that's been kind of on my radar, and we've now got the tree ordinance.
Yes.
So we talked about applying for Tree City. So that's something I think is going to be on your.
Yes, that is on my to-do list. As soon as everything's finalized with the tree ordinance, that's the first thing I'm doing, is applying for Tree City. And we're very excited about that. And then also, I had mentioned this in last month's commissioner meeting, that Beth had found something where an individual homeowner can apply to have a tree sanctuary status in their own yard. And we think that'd be a great idea for the series committee. And it's pretty easy requirements. You have to identify 10 trees. I mean that. And then fill out an application online, but it gets you a little prestige. It gives you a little plaque. But also it's a great way for us to build on the momentum of that and say, we have a tree ordinance, we're applying for Tree City. You can also get this added, recognition for your yard, and really kind of lump it all together into this one big positive announcement, because the tree ordinance has been met with a little bit of confusion. I think some people think it's a lot of government coming into their homes. And honestly, that's just a misunderstanding of what it is. They're thinking that we're saying you just can't cut down trees. It's not it. 90% of the questions are, I have a dead tree, it's in the right of way, it's blocking my house, it's gonna fall. All of that is fine to cut. It's if you want to clear cut your yard, you're gonna have to replace with a caliber. I mean, so I think once they recognize what the tree ordinance is, that it's not this oppressive blanket that tells you what you cannot do with your yard, and turn it into something positive, that we have this status as Tree City, and we have got, our committee members at least, and that would be 12 of us, having, this additional status of a sanctuary in their yard, and really just kind of take that narrative and shift it into something very exciting for the city and a feather in our cap, which it really is. I mean, the tree ordinance was so much work, but it is such a boon for us. It is such a good thing. And I think our residents will absolutely see it. But I love the idea of being able to create some excitement around it. And so that we can, and really get the correct message out that this is great for us. So, any questions?
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Lyle, do you have any comments about the tree ordinance? Has anything happened on that in terms of good things, bad things? Oh, here we go. Look at this. He was ready for this. Look at this.
This looks so good, Lyle.
So we got a draft of the tree permit here. And basically we're asking for information, the contact information, and you got a list of trees, diameter and size, and replace with the ratio. Talked to Gavin Duke last week, and he suggested putting the prohibited and invasive trees on here as well.
Hey, let's clarify prohibited trees. You know, are they prohibited to be planted or are they prohibited to be cut? I think that we might need to clarify that.
I would say prohibited to be planted. We have an approval list on the ordinance itself.
Okay.
But
okay.
I get so many calls about, I've got a hackberry, which you'll see, if you see the cursor, there it is right there, prohibited, hackberry. Go ahead and cut it down.
Hey, Lyle.
Yes.
I think eminent's spelled wrong under the reason for request. You might want to just check it.
Well, this is why it's a draft.
Yeah, that's why I said, that's why I'm telling you.
So you'll notice there where the property owner will initial, it talks about the ratio that is in the ordinance, but we just have it on the application for clarification. So the replacement is 2-to-1 for trees that are removed 4 to 15 inches, ratio of 4-to-1 for trees that are 16 to 30. Anything above 30 is considered a monarch tree. And at some point, a arborist would have to be brought in. But this is a draft, and hopefully we'll have this approved up and on the website very shortly.
Yeah, great. Good to see the progress. Anybody have any
Thank
questions?
you. That's great. This is great. Well done. Thank you.
All right. Okay, thank you.
Anytime.
City communication, no matters. Lee, finance?
Yes. You have the June 30 financials in front of you. And I would just like to bring up one point about that you all know, but I just want to bring it up. These, of course, will change pretty dramatically in the next 6 weeks, I'd say, because, you know, we don't have the hall tax yet. That'll go on this statement. And then the next two, the deposit we get in July and August of the state shared revenue, that will go on these statements. So these are truly just a draft at where we were when I prepared them. So I don't know if anybody had any questions.
I have one question.
Sure.
We all know that there's going to be a big lighting expense on Belle Meade Boulevard. Why was that not put in the, what do you call it,
Bob, let me answer that for you. We don't, first of all, don't know what that's going to be. The second, we don't know how it will be financed. If it will be, whether we'll pay it in cash or whether we will get to pay it through our NES regular monthly payment. I think that we don't know what's going to cost yet. So I think that we'll know that in the next few weeks, and then we'll be able to come back and hopefully make a recommendation as to how we think we should pay for it. So that hadn't even been decided yet. So
we don't have any idea, Jim?
Well, we got an idea, but we haven't voted on anything as far as cost is concerned. We don't, or how we're going to finance it. You know,
Yeah.
we may find that it's going to save us a lot. We think it's going to save us some money to pay cash for it, and which would mean we would have to dig into our funds, but it would be a tremendous cost savings versus what we're currently paying to NES. We're still trying to trying to determine. We're doing a forensic audit sort of on them right now to find out why didn't they stop charging us when we finished paying for the old lights, or did we finish paying for it? I think we do know some of those answers now, but it does look very favorable to us that we would pay cash and have a substantial savings that couldn't be offset by any interest or something that we'd be losing on this.
Yeah, but shouldn't we have put it one place or the other and make step out and put it, it's going to be a big surprise, in a month or two, where we put it. It's either in the capital budget or in the operating budget.
Well, it is currently in the operating budget. We're paying for the current lights now.
In other words, we're still amortizing
the additional monies we're going to be paying.
Well, but we're not sure how much that is yet, Bob.
Yeah, but I thought we always put something in and always adjusted it later. I thought that's the way. I thought that's the way it worked.
If it's in the capital budget, I think that this came upon us fairly quickly as pretty much a crisis, that we weren't going to have lights on Belle Meade Boulevard if in 5 years they're all rotten and falling off. And as it is, we've got 4 or 5 or 6 that can't be replaced right now. So I think that we were put into a position of having to make a decision, but we just hadn't made the financial decision. I think we've looked at what we want to put up there. We know about what it's going to cost, but we really haven't gone into the details about how we should pay for it. I think it is important, but it's kind of an ass backward type of way we're approaching it. So.
Okay.
Well, you become very, very amenable, Bob. I shouldn't say that. Now he's going to come get me.
Well, I am the sewer man.
Yeah, you are. Well, no, you've got some other titles now, Yeah. They're not bad. They're good titles. That's between me and Bob right now. We hadn't launched his new campaign for titles. So you're saying, Lee, this general fund financial statement is kind of meaningless. Not really meaningless, but it's not
meaningless, but it will change dramatically over the next, again, I'd say probably 6 weeks.
I'm with you. Okay. Any questions on that or the sewer fund? Okay. As you can see on the investment schedules, we've got, let's see, we're seeing interest rates drop dramatically. We're at the current rate now on the government investment pool is down to 0.38. And our CD program is way ahead of that, but it's drifting down too. So, but at the same time, we're in great financial shape, it looks like. Anybody have any questions on the financials? I think the CD laddering program is kind of proving itself if we've seen interest rates go up and down, and we've watched the CD laddering program be much more stable. Okay, we've got, next is approval of invoices over 5,000. We've got, Lee, you gave us an additional one.
I did. You should have 3.
Okay, read that one to me. I didn't print
You've
it.
got Commonwealth Chemical for $24,640.
Mm-hmm.
You've got Local Government Corporation, which is our software and the server and for the accounting software, and
that's the 24,478.
That's the 24,478. And then after we had sent the packet out, we got for the creek debris removal, AR and Associates for $12,426.
Okay. So is there a motion that we approve those 3
I
over.
make the motion.
Motion made by Bob Weigel. Is there a second?
I'll second Kathy.
Kathy, second. Further discussion? All in favor say aye. Roll call. Kathy?
Kathy Altenburn, aye.
Louise Bryan, aye.
Jim Hunt, aye.
Or aye.
Bob Wiggle, aye.
Thank you. Facilities, no matters. Personnel, no matters. Legislation, Lyle, I believe you may want to say something about and you and Doug on the amending section appendix F, whatever.
Well, at this time, I'd just like to ask if we could defer till next month. And since this draft, some other things have come to light that we need to address before we present.
Good. Is there a motion to defer?
Move that we defer the hearing of this ordinance for 30 days.
Louise, did you second it?
Yes.
Any further discussion? Roll call vote. All in favor say aye.
Kathy Altenburn, aye.
Louise Bryan, aye.
Jim Hunt, aye.
Or aye.
Bob Wiggle, aye.
That's carries. Ordinance 2020-4 deferred. Do we want to defer it indefinitely, Kyle, rather than put a onus on you?
Doug?
How long do you want to defer it? I think we just said it's just deferred.
I'll throw it back to Doug.
Okay, no, I know who you, but Doug's over here.
Either one, Lyle. I think 30 days is fine. There are going to be substantial amendments to this. Well, some of it based on what we discussed at BZA yesterday. So, but I think we can look at that. I'll have it ready by next month.
Okay.
Beth, didn't you say that's 30 days unless otherwise noted?
My motion was 30 days, but I think that was kind of cut. I think it was kind of cut off at the end. I'm sorry.
Okay. I'm sorry about
Yeah, it
that.
was 30 days.
Okay, got it. All right. Other matters. Beth, you want to talk a little bit about early voting starting the 17th?
Right, that's this Friday. I met with the election chairperson yesterday, and we went through the strategy of how to vote under COVID-19. So I think we've got it all worked out. They're going to have less voting machines in the courtroom and social distance everybody, and they will have a screener at the back door that will take everyone's temperature and ask screening questions and make them wear masks. So I think it's going to be tedious and a lot slower than usual, but I think we're going to work it out just fine with, we're going to be able to accommodate everybody, hopefully.
Anybody can absentee ballot vote if you get your form in by July 30th.
Correct.
Ours came back really fast, our request.
Good.
That it, Beth?
Yes, that's it.
We've got.
Beth,
yeah,
I have one question.
Sure.
Two questions. Beth, I thought we were going to get construction costs on the left turn thing on Belle Meade Boulevard at the first of the month. Has that not happened yet?
No, sir. We were starting with the engineering proposals that were at the top of this agenda and getting that started. And I'm still working with KCI and doing the specs for that project. I think we have figured out what we're going to do. We just need to write specs so we can bid it out. So that's on my list to tackle after a few other things got crossed off, like the master plan submittals and things like that, but it will be going forward.
And also, have you got a date set for Mr. Petty to study our sewer rate increases?
No, I have not contacted him yet. We wanted to get a few projects started that needed to be done in the fall. So that's definitely on my list. So that'll probably be later on, a couple of months, we'll get that going.
Thank you.
Thanks for the question, Bob. Louise, when is good things going to happen with the long range planning? What is new
Well,
schedule?
we were fortunate to get one more proposal, which was delivered this week. So now we have 3, and we feel really good about that number. We're working on some dates right now to meet next week or the week after that. And at that time, we'll start to dig in pretty detailed wise to the proposals and come back to the board with a recommendation.
Good. Thank you. Rusty, I'm going to ask you, Patsy, our good friend Patsy has suggested that the signs on Belle Meade Boulevard about passing those, about the left turn, that she misses those. And do you think that we need to put those back up? I think there have been some people who are saying that maybe we need a reminder, maybe a 4-week reminder of putting those back up. You have any comments about that?
Well, I love them, and I do think putting them up periodically is a good idea. And we all know it's just one of my pet peeves to just watch people ride down that lane, especially when people are walking and using strollers and all. So, we didn't spend a lot of money on them, but we've taken good care of the signs by taking them up and storing them. So, putting them out for another, week to 10 days, I think would be a really nice reminder for everyone, especially since, we're really in a different phase again, but more people are kind of staying home and not traveling. So we're seeing more walkers out there. I think it's a great idea.
If nobody has any objections, Larry, can you get your hands on those pretty quickly? He's got them. Okay. Why don't you go ahead and put them out? I've got one last thing is that we've got commissioner elections coming up. That bad news is that Kathy has decided that she will not run again. We'll have to have a big celebration for you, and I've decided that I would like to run again. So it means we've got got 2 slots, and we've got 1 commissioner who's not running. And so right now, I have got my petition, but I don't know that anybody else does. And so if anyone has anybody that would like to be a candidate, we sure would I'd like to have a contested race. So if anybody has any suggestions, you can tell them to call me and I can lead them into that petition, because right now the petitions, I thought we were going to be over at the old Howard School area, and they're not. They're back out at the airport. So
they are at the airport. They're at the airport.
Yeah, because the Howard area is still closed. So anyway, if you've got any suggestions, I'd like to hear about it. We do need at least 1, and hopefully 2 or 3 people that might want to run for commissioner. Anybody got any questions? I sincerely apologize for my inability to get online with this, and I was working on something else before, and I got on late and didn't check out my equipment. I do apologize. Hope I'll be forgiven. If there's no other questions, we'll just adjourn, and I'll cut everything off, or let Lau cut everything off. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye, y'all.